Good afternoon.
Hi. So this is really, really interesting. And I read the title. It says Provocations in the Classroom, and was instantly intrigued to find out what that means and to find out how it's sort of translating into the school and into the classroom. Can you tell me a little bit about, first of all, how it started?
So basically, as part of being an IB school, we believe that students are the ones who lead the learning. They are the ones who ask the questions and who inquire and to find out more. And for us to be able to do that, we want the students to want to ask the questions. We want them to want to find out. If we say, today we're going to learn about the economy or migration or water, they might or might not be interested. And then it's the challenge of the teacher trying to find out how to get them to want to learn. So what we try to do is we try to start our units, our lessons, our classes with a learning engagement that's actually what we call a provocation. And it is where we provoke the students to actually want to learn. It sometimes upsets them. It sometimes gets them excited or gets them surprised or gets them kind of to argue or disagree. And this is how we get them to want to learn, to want to ask the questions, to want to be the ones taking the learning forward, as opposed to us trying to push them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, sparking curiosity in a child, it really is. It's one of the most important things, I think, and it's the most important element to really want them to learn, as you said, and it's the best way for a child to want to learn, to ask questions. Can you sort of maybe take me through how your day would start with the kids, and maybe also tell us about one of these provocations as an example?
Yes, I will give you an example because it doesn't necessarily based on the day. It's more related to the unit of inquiry or the unit of maths or science or literacy or whatever the provocation is related to. But I can give you an example about one provocation that was related to the water unit of inquiry. And we wanted the kids to start wanting to learn about water, asking questions about water. And as you know, especially kids who live here, they have no idea that other countries don't have access to water in general, let alone clean water. So what we did is we started the day telling the students that for today they are only allowed to use the small bottle of water, and we provided all of them with a bottle of water. And we took their bottles away and we said, you can only use this bottle of water for the whole day to drink and to wash your hands and to shower and to wash whatever you need and what have you. So, of course, at the beginning, the first 5-10 minutes, they took it as a challenge. The water started running out, then they started getting upset. We don't let it get to a kind of stage where they've gone 3-4 hours without water. It's not torture. It's just experiences of it. It's just that when we felt they started to get a bit stressed and they started to understand that this is a resource they don't think of as a limited resource. They started to argue, kind of question. They go to the toilet, they want to wash their hands. We would kind of like put the tap away. They're not allowed to use that water. And it gets them to ask why. It gets them to ask, how can we manage? It gets them to start thinking of ways and strategies. And this is what we want the kids to start thinking of. And then we kind of take them through the experience of going through examples of water in other countries and why did we do this provocation after they've gone through that kind of experience. We want the feelings, we want the emotions, we want the kind of, that aspect of it.
I suppose with such tight curriculums these days, I have many friends who are teachers, and that it's very hard to sort of fit everything in these days. How does this new approach work? I mean, is it actually part of the curriculum? Is it an extra on top of the curriculum, or is there some ways to sort of integrate it into the curriculum?
It is not on top of the curriculum. It's basically when we teach through the IB curriculum, we follow the inquiry cycle. And for us to do that, we start the unit with a provocation, of which we also consider as a way to pre-assess the students, because everything we do starts with the pre-assessment. So when we plan the unit, we think of the skills, the concepts, the knowledge that we want to pre-assess the students on. And with that provocation, we are doing all that, and we are getting the unit started. It's way easier to spend one period on provocation where you get to pre-assess the students and get them wanting to learn than to spend 4 periods trying to introduce concepts that they're not interested in. it definitely works. It's just a different way of doing things.
It sounds interesting. We're going to hear more about from Sara Sankari, who's the Associate Head of Lower School at Dwight School Dubai, in just a few moments. Do text in if you've got any questions for Sara. We're talking about provocations in the classroom. Is it a good thing? Do you think this is one of the better ways to teach our kids life skills, to get them more connected with life and, of course, the life that they're going to be leading when they do leave school? We'd like to hear from you as well on 4001. Sara Sankari, we're talking about inspiring curiosity in kids. That's coming up next.
Family Matters
On Afternoons with Helen Farmer. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Sara Sankari, who is the Associate Head of Lower School, Dwight School in Dubai. And we've been finding out a little bit about their way that they start the school day. It's called Provocations in the Classroom, and it really seems to be essentially a way of giving life skills to children, practical skills, making them feel connected to the world, so they're not just heads in books and maths problems and these sorts of things. They're actually thinking about things that are happening in the world around them. And Sara, you gave this great example of one of the provocations that you gave about having the children to only be able to have a small bottle of water a day. What would they do with it? How would they wash their hands? How would they take a shower, etc., etc.? And I think it sounds wonderful. The last question we asked was sort of, how do you put that into the curriculums, because they've got so much to learn at school these days. They have such tight schedules. But you're saying that this is all done before. And is it only in Dwight School that you find schools are doing this? Is it something that you have come up with yourselves?
It's something that is part of the IB curriculum to start with Provocations. What we've done at Dwight is we have incorporated it in as much as we can, because we believe it works and it was making a difference. So while it's not a non-negotiable to do a provocation, we try to engage the students with a provocation a week or a few of those, because we feel it doesn't only help with units of inquiry, it helps with maths. We've started a class once where we removed all the numbers. It was a KG classroom, no numbers whatsoever, including the calendar and the clock and everything. And of course, in KGs, they just want to celebrate birthdays and see what the calendar looks like. And it was where they were wondering, where did the numbers go? How will we know how to go up and down in the lift? And how will we do this? And this is where they understand the importance of numbers. So it's not necessarily where it takes hours and hours of time. It's sometimes a 10-minute thing where we just do the preparation before the class, and we get them to see what's different, to ask the questions, to notice, and to tell us why numbers are important. They're not just learning numbers because we told them to.
And what's the response been like from the teachers and from the students?
Oh, the teachers enjoy it so much. We actually spend time planning it together and agreeing on what's the provocation going to be for the new unit. And we think of different ways for every year, because, kids talk to each other. We don't want it to be repetitive, and for the kids to know what we're doing, which probably now is, we're going to have to think even more about it now that they've heard us speaking about it. But the students get so excited, and almost always they understand after we explain that it's been a provocation. They understand that it's been a provocation and why we did that, and it actually gets them very excited to unpack the learning and to inquire.
Definitely. I think it's a wonderful way to encourage people to learn, encourage the kids to just have a connection, I think, as I said, with what's going on in the world as well. I'm wondering also, with the impact of COVID and the teaching approaches, of course, many kids are still online. Some are doing sort of this blended learning online. How has that kind of impacted, do you think, the kids' learning?
We try to engage them as much as possible. We do have them as part of the classroom via Zoom or any other app that the teachers are using to make sure that they are a part of the classroom. We do have to think more when we're thinking of provocations and we're thinking of learning engagements, because we can't just include the ones in the classroom. We need to make sure that whatever we're doing includes students who are at home. Teachers take one-on-one time to help them and work with them, and everything's posted on Seesaw and Google Classroom for them to have access to. And what we try to do is we try to pair them with somebody who's in the classroom to make sure that they're part of conversations and that they're discussing the learning with somebody. It is tricky. It is hard. It takes way more time when it comes to planning, but we're still trying to include them in every classroom, including the specialists, PE, art, music.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, you're essentially giving life skills that students can take away and they can use practically. Have you seen also perhaps a shift in thinking in terms of what a child should be doing at school? And I suppose looking back into my day, the teacher was there to teach the subjects and the parents the life skills. But I feel now there's been perhaps a shift in that parents are thinking, kids go to school to learn everything. There's much more pressure on teachers to teach everything in terms of life skills and curriculum subjects. Are you feeling that more? Do you think there's a greater expectations on teachers to be able to teach everything these days?
I think yes in ways and no in others, because I think the focus shifted from being on knowledge to being on life skills and what the students really need, because knowledge is not what they need. What was relevant years ago is not anymore. And you need to make sure that the students don't only know the knowledge, they know the life skills and they know how to apply it. I think it's just shifted from the teacher being the one teaching and delivering and making sure everybody understands, to the teacher being the facilitator in the classroom and making sure that students are inquiring and acquiring those life skills. I think it's way more fun. I think it definitely is different.
Certainly sounds a lot more fun, yeah.
But it's definitely what works. We don't want to keep doing what's not working just because it's easier.
Yeah. Well, it's been really interesting talking to you, and I think it's a fantastic idea, Provocations in the Classroom. It's really wonderful, and let's hope it rolls out to more schools in Dubai. Sara Sankari, who's the Associate Head of Lower School at Dwight School in Dubai, thanks very much for joining us on the line today. Thank you.
Thank you.
More to come on the programme. Up next week.